Today we're talking about how to get less rusty on an instrument. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Isaac Schanno Johnson. If you don't know me, I'm a musician, composer, producer, and I make videos about all that fun stuff. Music composition, music production. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. See videos like this in the future. How to get less rusty. I got 4 things that we can do, because sometimes you learn an instrument, you practice a whole lot, you get pretty good, and then for whatever reason, maybe you have some other commitment that comes up, or you just find something else that is a little more interesting for the time being, and then you stop practicing that amount, and then eventually you aren't as good as you used to be. So you then need to figure out, how do I get back to where I was? And you're all confused because you're like, this used to be super easy, but now it's kind of difficult, and now I don't really know what to do. Do I have to really do all that work again in order to get back to the same place? The answer to that is probably not. It's pretty hard to regress while playing an instrument, especially if you did practice for a long period of time, let's say 10 years. If you practice for 10 years pretty consistently, you probably got pretty good, and you'll still remember all of those patterns, but you sort of have to warm back up into it. It's in a lot of ways similar to working out, where you get really strong and then maybe you don't go to the gym for a while and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so much weaker. That's probably not the case. It's likely that you just forgotten a lot of stuff. Your body isn't used to all of these new things that you're doing. They're now new. And then you need to just ease back into it a little bit, maybe over the course of a month or a couple weeks, and then you'll be basically right back where you were before. So what are those 4 tips? First one is make a list of songs that you want to learn. I think this one's really important, because without making a list of stuff that you want to learn, you're kind of going to be a little aimless, and you're not going to really have a direction for what to start with and where to go and what progressions to take. So I think it's really important that you make a list of songs that you want to learn. They can be anything. They could be any song that you want to learn. Something that you used to play, something that you've always wanted to learn but never did, something that you think is maybe a little bit of a reach that you'll have to practice quite a bit for, something that you could probably learn in a day or a couple hours depending on your level. Just make a long list of songs. Some of them should be really easy. Some of them should be really, 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 really easy. Some of them should be, a little difficult, something that you might have as a goal for yourself. Some of them should probably be in the middle, where maybe they take you a couple days and then you can play it pretty well. But you want a wide range of difficulty levels of your songs. Don't just choose songs that you used to play all the time. Don't just choose songs that are way too easy, because then you won't progress in either of those, because you're constantly either going to be bored because it's too easy, or you might get bored because it's way too hard. So choose a wide range of songs in difficulty levels. Some that are really easy, some that are like a medium level of difficulty, and then some that will be kind of difficult. The songs that you used to play that used to be just at the height of your level, just at your highest playing ability, I'd put those in the difficult category, even if they may have been a little easier when you were back at that level, not rusty. Step 2, start with all the easy songs. Yeah, I know, this isn't fun. I recently did this, recently as in, 6 months ago. I started playing guitar again, and I haven't played guitar a whole lot since I graduated from college, where that was my principal instrument. In college, I'd practice multiple hours, basically every single day, on my instrument. And when I came out of college, for whatever reason, I didn't practice as much. A lot of that had to do with finding work or having to work and all of that, so I didn't have as much time to practice, but I've gotten back into it recently. And one thing I did when I sort of got back into playing guitar was I started with songs that were really, really easy. All of the easy songs that I put on that list of songs that I wanted to learn, that's what I started with. So some of them were, maybe guitar riffs from the Black Keys. Some of them were guitar solos from the Black Keys. Some of them were from the band Royal Blood. Guitar solos and guitar riffs. Stuff that I knew I could learn by ear in a day and get sounding good in a couple hours, right? Something that I knew I could get down real solid quickly, because I didn't want to work on practicing. I just wanted to get back into the routine of playing guitar, right? And I knew if I tried to play all the songs I used to play when I was in college, when I was at Berkeley, I wouldn't be able to, and then I'd I'd feel kind of defeated. I'd be like, well, where did all that work go? Where did all that time I spent practicing go? Because now I can't play all the songs that I used to play. What happened, right? What happened to my playing? And that's not a fun feeling. Especially if you've spent a lot of time on working on something and getting a skill level up to a specific level, having that sort of feeling of, oh, did all that time and effort just go to waste because I stopped doing it? No, it didn't. I got back up to the level I was when I was in college at Berkeley, but it did take some time. It took me, about a month to get back up there. And I think of this as the warm-up. This is the warm-up to your practice. But rather than it taking 5-10 minutes before you start practicing, it takes a month, and then you're back into that same level that you were before. So choose songs that are super easy and find a bunch of them, because you'll probably go through them pretty quickly. And the point of doing this isn't to learn anything new, really. The point is just to get your fingers and your hand motions or whatever you're using on your instrument back into the routine of playing that instrument, right? Get back into the feeling of what it feels like to play all those songs, right? Because you need to get sort of your fingers remembering what it's like to play all those songs on your instrument. So for guitar, you also might want to find some stuff that doesn't use just one part of the fretboard. Use songs that are using different parts of the fretboard, so you can get back into remembering how the fretboard works and how it's all laid out, because that's something that, if you got to a pretty high level, will take a little bit of adjustment to get back to that high level if you're a little rusty. But you also don't want to choose songs that are so difficult that they discourage you from playing, because if you've ever experienced being rusty and you try and learn a song that would have been easy when you were at your highest level, if you're rusty, it's not going to be easy. And that's not a great feeling, because you'll know, oh, I would have been able to pick this up in 10 minutes before, but now I can't. What happened? So choose songs that are really, really, really easy. I can't stress that enough, that you want them to be really easy, because you want it to be like you're easing into playing again, right? You want it to be easy to get back into playing. You want to just get into the habit of playing something on the instrument, even if it is fairly easy to play. Tip number 3 is choose pieces that are progressively harder. This one, if you've been playing for a while, shouldn't be all that difficult, because you should be able to tell just from listening to it how difficult or hard it's going to be for you to play, especially if you've been playing for a while. But try and plan out the songs that you choose so that they get ever so slightly harder. So maybe you start with, if you're playing guitar like me, you start with rhythm guitar parts. You just start with chords. You just start with playing different chord patterns on your instrument, different strumming patterns maybe, different guitar riffs. You start with those first, and then you progress to playing guitar solos or simple guitar solos. Or if you're at a slightly lower level than that, you could just start with strumming patterns, just strumming chords. Then you progress to guitar riffs and guitar patterns like that. And then you do rhythm guitar parts, that include both of those. So you have to switch between strumming chords and playing a guitar riff. And then you progress to solos, simple solos, right? Whatever the progression is, find a progression that is very, very gradual, right? You're thinking, I'm going to do this over the course of 3 weeks, not I'm going to do this over the course of 2 days. So you're playing, for example, 1 week you're playing just strumming patterns, just different chordal songs. The next week, then you're playing guitar riffs, just simple guitar riffs. And then the next week you're playing both of those put together, combined, sort of like a rhythm guitar part in a song would be. You're learning the chordal part and the guitar riffs, sort of trying to play the entire song all the way through, right? You're mixing those two up. That's a very gradual progression. And then maybe the next week after that, week 4, this would be, is then you're playing guitar solos, simple pentatonic based guitar solos, right? Very, very slow progression, where maybe that last week of guitar solos would be something that's maybe a medium level of difficulty when you were not rusty, so that then those are sort of getting you a little bit more acquainted with all the skills that you acquired from practicing for so many hours and whatever. But set up this progression so that it's very gradual. You want to plan it out over multiple weeks, because If you don't, it's going to be really hard to do, and it's going to be really hard to get back into because you're going to be constantly discouraged by how much more difficult something is because you haven't been playing for a while. And that can, I think, stop you from playing as much because every time you pick up your instrument, even if it's not guitar, if it's piano or something, or violin, you pick it up and you're constantly reminded of how much worse you are than you used to be, right? And you don't want that at the beginning, right? You don't want to remember, oh, I used to be so good, this used to be so easy. Well, it used to be so easy because you did it all the time, not because you've gotten so much worse. That's most likely the case, is just that you're not used to doing it, so you need to get used to doing it first. And you want to sort of ease into it like you're, walking into a pool. This is a stupid analogy, but if you're walking into a pool, you want to, first go on the first step into the shallow end, then the next step is the next week, the next step is the next week, and then maybe week 4 you're one step away from having your waist into the pool or something. I don't know, but you want to think of making it very, very gradual, because otherwise you might get discouraged very easily. Step 4 is repeat steps 1 to 3 until you're great. I know, not super helpful, but what's basically what you want to do is make a list of songs, start with the easiest ones, and then progressively learn the harder ones, and repeat that over and over and over again. That's basically how you'll get better at your instrument. But if you do this a number of times, maybe not over the course of like multiple weeks, like 8 weeks or something, but if you do this a couple times over the course of 3 weeks, then eventually you'll get back to that same playing ability. It might take some extra time if you got to a really high level and you've been off playing for a long time, like over a year, then, or multiple years definitely, then it might take a little bit longer to get back to that same level, but it won't take the same amount of time that it took you to get there. That's, I think, an important thing to remember is if you practice for 10 years and you got really good, when you come back after playing for even 2 years, which is a pretty long time to not be playing, if you come back, it's not going to take you another 10 years to get back to that level, right? It might take you 6 months or a full year, depending on how much you haven't been playing and how much, what level you got to. But remembering the patterns is going to come back much more quickly than it did at the beginning. And that's something I think is important to remember when you're doing this, is it's not going to come back right away, and it's not going to be as slow as when you first started getting there. So you can take a breath. You can relax a little bit as you do this. I also think another important part of doing this, especially when I did it with guitar and whatever, is make sure that it's enjoyable. Make sure you choose songs that you want to learn, that you like, because otherwise, if you're just choosing your old repertoire and trying to play that at the same level again, it's constantly going to be a struggle. And even if you did really like the song when you were able to play it, it might be a little harder to enjoy because you remember, oh, I used to be able to play this all the time. It used to be super easy. Now it's kind of difficult. What happened, right? So you want to make sure that the process is enjoyable and that, let's be honest, that it's not too difficult. If you haven't been playing for a while, you don't want to jump back in and just start practicing 7 hours a day again. Your fingers aren't used to doing that, or whatever instrument you're playing, your voice isn't going to be used to doing that. Your hands aren't going to be used to doing all those motions for that long a period of time a day. So start with something a little more gradual. Start with gradually increasing the amount of time you're practicing. So maybe you do 30 minutes a day for a week, then you do 45 minutes a day for a week, then you do an hour a day for a week, then you do hour 15 a day for a week, then you do an hour 30 a day for a week. So you're slowly adding in practice time, not to the point where you're overloading yourself right away, especially if you've been off playing. You could, not that this is a big deal, but you could develop some type of repetitive stress injuries or repetitive use injuries if you're throwing yourself into this new thing that has all these really fine motor patterns in your hands. So you want to take it slowly, right? You want to give your hands time to adjust, give your body time to adjust, give your muscles time to adjust, and give your brain time to adjust to doing this new thing that you used to do all the time, right? So take it slowly, basically, which I know sucks as advice, but you'll be happier that you did, because you'll be back at that level basically as fast as you could be and as easily as you could be, kind of, where it doesn't take a whole lot of effort and you didn't have to really like push yourself every day to, you know, put in 8 hours of practice or something. The last part of this would be to then practice all the pieces that you used to play. See how they are. If you do this, let's say you take a month to just sort of ease back into it, transition back to where you were, and you get roughly to that same level, then you start playing these pieces that you used to play all the time, you'll be so much happier because you'll be like, oh, right, I didn't lose much. I just needed to adjust back to where I was. Give yourself time if you ever do this, because it'll feel a lot better if you ease back into it and then you're back at where you were. That's it for this video. Hope you found it useful. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something about music. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.